I've made it my mission to talk about Ninjago minifigures, or more specifically, each of the ninja suits throughout the years, and I am officially up to 2017, so it's time to talk about the Hand of Time suits. Because if you don't know, or if you're new to the channel, I have made it my mission to talk about every single Ninjago suit that we have released in the time of the show. And well, as of now, like I said, I'm up to 2017, so if you haven't seen any of the reviews before it, I recommend you do so. But let me not waste any more of your time, and let me talk about some Hands of Time suits. Of course, like I said, these were the 2017 wave of Ninjago sets, and I have to say, this was officially the last instance of what a lot of people consider to be classic Ninjago. So this is the last time I will be talking about these old designs. So, a lot of you may be sad, but unfortunately, this is just how it went, because of course, the movie was the next one after this. But let's not talk about the future yet, because let me actually talk about the Hands of Time suits and how amazing they actually are. And well, here's the ninja lineup and here's the Wu as well, and I have to say, I think they're amazing together. It's a shame these suits came out in such a controversial season because, in my opinion, these are some of the best detailing, some of the best finishes, and some of the most unique looking Ninjago suits that we have ever gotten. And I have to say, all of them are great in different ways. But let me actually start off with one of the ninja, and I'm going to start off weirdly in this instance with Jay, because he is the one, in my opinion, that's probably my least favourite of the bunch. And that does mainly come down to the printing, so I will leave that till last. So let me talk about the different aspects of him first, apart from the printing on the torso and the legs. As for the head itself, it is the smiling face and the sad face that we did get to see beforehand in the line before. It's still a really nice head, it just didn't stick around for too long. He then also comes with the black shoulder armor, which is of course ones we've seen plenty of times before now. So it's nice to get another wave where we got more of these, but these would definitely becoming a more common bit of shoulder armor, and of course all the ninja have them, so that's all I'll really mention about them. And then also coming with the same mask that we got to see in the last wave with Day of the Departed, which is the dual molded head, or the dual molded mask more specifically, sorry, and instead of having the black and the blue, it is the dark blue and the light blue. And again, these were fantastic masks, so I'm not really mad at that, but of course, you could make the argument that it wasn't really that creative, but they do go really well with the suits, so I'm not actually overly mad. But let me actually talk about the printing. The thing about it that I just find a little strange is that the front of the suit almost looks like the back of the suit, and it's mainly down to the fact that it's quite plain in the center and just having its elemental symbol. But apart from that, it is really nice. It just has this really weird bit of dead zone that I've noticed, whereas all the other ninja don't really get that. So it's one of those ones where I feel like it's just a bit of an outstander, and I don't really like it for that reason, but I still think it's a nice print regardless. The legs though are great. I love the legs, I love every single bit of it, and this also does coincide with the fact that I really like that the dark blue takes the center stage of this suit and have the light blue as the actual accents instead. I just think it really creates this really nice finish. As for accessories, again, I would just really pair him up with a standard pair of nunchucks. There's not really much else in the way to do with it. The main thing of this season was of course the time blades, which I don't really think I would display the ninja with them, so I just give them some standard weapons instead. But in this instance, he gets his nunchucks and they just create a nice finish. But overall, even though this is my least favorite one, I do still think it's a really nice looking minifigure. I just think the print on the torso specifically is just a bit strange. The second one I'm going to talk about is actually going to be Cole, and I have to say, the rest of these ninja suits I actually think are really good, so just keep that in mind before now. There's now officially no instance of these are my favorites, these are my least favorites. But of course, having the same type of mask finish, obviously the same one as the Day of the Departed one, and the same head as before as well, which is just really nice. Of course, the main thing being the torso print again, and I have to say, I really do like this version of Cole. All the ropes are a nice finish. Having the lighter grey actually be the main finish of the suit instead of actually being black, I just think is really nice. Again, just making the black the accents, and then obviously the highlights of gold to go with it as well. It just creates a really nice finish for him. To be honest, it's just nice to see him human again. It's one of those things where Ghost Cole, in my opinion, is a whole different thing, and of course, if you don't already are aware, I'm actually doing a character analysis on all of the ninja anyways, but it's one of those things where it's still just a really interesting instance of Ghost Core was nice while it lasted, but I'm glad that he's human. And I'm going to be honest, this Cole face print is probably my favorite one that we've ever gotten for him. So it's a shame we didn't get it for too long, but it's still just nice regardless. Again, as for the weapon, I do give him just a regular scythe. I know he did have that big, massive scythe in Hands of Time. I don't even know what that's meant to be. I don't understand that whatsoever. Where did it even come from? And again, this is Hands of Time where the ninja's weapons just synthesize out of thin air. I don't know where he's keeping that thing, but I just give him a regular scythe. I just think it just creates the best finish of the bunch. And of course, last time we really get scythe called apart from one wave in particular, so I like to keep him with this. But again, just another fantastic minifigure. I just can't really complain about it. So again, even though I mentioned him twice, doesn't mean I don't think he's a good one whatsoever. But like I said, he's a nice one. But let's get to the next one. Next one, I'm going to talk about Lloyd. And again, in case you haven't noticed, I'm actually also ordering these by the new parts alone, because of course all the next ninja do have a new head print. So let's talk about Lloyd, because he does just have the standard head print from before, the same mask for example, but the body itself is really nice looking. Again, like all the other ninja, having the darker color be the main accent, and I think that's honestly the reason why I really like these suits. Having the different or the accent color become the primary color for ones is actually just a really good idea, and it's just made for really nice shading on these ninja suits. Honestly, these suits just pop, and I think that that's the reason why, because they're not having black as the main color, or light blue as the main color, or light green as the main color. Having those darker colors be the baseline and then going into the lighter ones as accents, I do just think create a really nice layered effect, and I just think it's a nice finish overall. But yeah, this is just a really nice Lloyd, and I think honestly the print itself just kind of reminds me of the ZX Lloyd in a weird way. Can't really pin down why. I mean, I've got them next to each other on the video now, but it's one of those things where it's one of those ones where it doesn't really make sense to me, but it does at the same time. Let me know if you can understand where I'm coming from, and if you do, try and help me figure this out, because I don't get it at all. But as for the weapons, I do display him just with a standard set of dual swords, and of course with the silver ones instead of the gold ones this time, but ultimately that is how he looked in the actual show itself, so I'm not mad. And it's just nice to have Lloyd dual wielding for once. Of course he goes back to being a single wield after this point, but it was nice to get it while it lasted at the very least. But overall, just another amazing one. I can't really have anything bad to say about it. It's just one of those ones where this line is just a very solid one. I think I'm going to get into more controversial opinions the later into the suits we actually get. But overall, just another really nice Lloyd. Don't know if it's my favorite Lloyd in the world, but definitely another one nonetheless. And the next one I'll talk about then is Zane, because Zane does have a bit more of a departure, I guess, but ultimately still is under the same concept. Obviously having the same mask, for example, but the main thing being the head. This head was introduced in this wave, even though it wasn't actually introduced in the show. But the thing is that it's got a crack at the top, and he has a bigger smile. And of course he has lost the blue visor on the back. So I'm not entirely certain as to why this was introduced now. We never actually saw it until season 8, but it's one of those ones where it's still just a nice head to get nonetheless, especially considering this is the only time we actually got it. But I do love the head sculpt, and I do like the nice smile he has. I think Zane in recent time hasn't had many prints that have a good smile, and I think this is honestly the best one that we've actually gotten. So it's nice to actually get representation for it. But than that, I absolutely love the printing. Going back to the more titanium look is a really nice one, and the difference between this one and the actual jungle suit is the fact that this one's actually a metallic silver instead of actually just being a matte one. And I have to say, it makes me wish we actually got this for the jungle suit instead, because this one just looks much better. But all the detailing is absolutely amazing. All the white accents just really do finish it off, and I love this look, and I wish we got it more, because the white as the accent really does blend in nicely, and of course having those more gold finishes as well really does complete the look, and this might debatably be one of my favorite Zanes that we've ever gotten. He then of course has his display weapons that I give him, which is again just standard shurikens, nothing overly special to be honest, but it does complete the look, and in my opinion it's just nice to get these variants because it's just a solid looking set of minifigures, and I just don't really have much else to say about it apart from that. But yeah, he's just another fantastic addition to the Hands of Time collection, and of course I'm going to leave my recommendation to the end, but I think you can see where I'm going with this. But let's talk about the siblings. I'll start off with Kai, because Kai still holds the same fundamentals as the other ninja and also still maintains some of his other suits. Of course, still having that same mask from the season before, but there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But the main thing is the fact that he did get a new head this season, and I have to say again, in similar vein to Zane, this is possibly one of my favourite heads that we've ever gotten for Kai, because on the one side, he has got this really nice looking smirk, which I think is absolutely amazing, although I will say the smirk is not as good as the Stone Armor Kai, because that one didn't have the scar, but then you turn it around, and then you've got it to this fire elemental face, which, even though it is not canon, unless you consider season 11, it's one of those things where it's still a really nice looking head print, and definitely one that was just great to see when it actually came out, because it does really complete that look. But apart from that, the actual printing again is just another amazing one, like all the other ninja actually taking on a mainly dark red, and then having the light red as the accents with a bit of gold. And like I said, like with every other one, it does just create this amazing effect. And the Kai suit in particular is just really nice and detailed. It just looks like a proper ninja suit in my opinion. And it's just one of those ones where it just creates a fantastic effect that I can't help but love. I also then just gave him one sword because that's what he used in the season. Again, just nothing really special. It'll be nice in a few seasons time where I get to show all the ninja with their dedicated weapons, aka the Wildbrain era and technically the Oni trilogy. But it's just one of those ones where getting him a sword gives him a nice finish. You can't really complain. But overall, just another amazing addition again to the Hands of Time minifigures, and just one that's always a standout that I love to come back to. But let's talk about the final of the bunch. And that of course is Nia, and in my opinion she is the biggest departure of the bunch because she has a different complete color departure, especially for this point of time in the actual show itself. Of course though, the main thing being that she has got that new head print, and again, it's so nice that we're finally done with the city era of Nia, because the one side you actually have a face that's actually accurate to her, which is really nice, and then the other side which is the water elemental effect, which again is not canon but still a nice addition. And actually, come to think of it, I have the minifigure in front of me right now, it actually does have a different mask this time, because as I'll talk about in a moment, the colors completely changed. So instead of having the red and the blue, this one's actually a grey and a blue. And I have to say, I really do like this mask. But then let's actually get to the print in itself, and you can actually see that it's a majority of a gunmetal grey, which of course is what we expect to see of Nia in the more recent seasons. And I have to say, being the first instance of it, I do really like the finish, because you've got that gunmetal with that nice light blue, and in this one we do get a little bit of red, but it's one of those ones where this is really where her colour palette started to begin, and I can definitely see why it's become the favourite, because it's absolutely amazing looking. Again, in similar vein to Kai, just give her a sword and she's good to go. Of course, this is before she really has that trident or that spear that she uses, but the sword is still just a really nice addition, and again, just a nice addition to a minifigure that's just fantastic looking. But again, just overall, just as the final ninja, she really does complete the look. And of course, this is very much a departure in terms of design for the time, but it's actually quite in line with what we get now. And I have to say, even though this is really early for this color palette, I really like it. But that was the ninja team, and I do think they're really good looking. And of course, the only other thing that we got in particular this season was of course a new version of Wu. And I say Wu, or a new version of him, very lightly, because this is just straight up the Day of the Departed one. The literal only difference is the fact that it's a tan hat instead of a pearl gold hat. And if you want to see a more articulated opinion of him in the actual video of Day of the Departed, I would recommend you do so, because there's not really much else to add apart from the fact that the tan hat is fine, doesn't ruin the figure whatsoever. I do prefer the Day of the Departed one though, but it's still a nice one. If you have this one as an option, you can definitely get it and you won't be mad. It's just the gold hat is a bit better, but that is the Wu of the season. But that was the Hands of Time wave of Ninja and Sensei Wu, and I have to say, on an overall, this is definitely one of the best ones that we have gotten in a very long time. If you like when the ninja aren't completely uniform with each other, this is probably one of your favourite looking sets of ninja. And do I recommend it to anyone who is just after a wave of ninja? I know I usually also start with, are you looking for every single ninja? But I feel like that recommendation is a bit silly at this point, because of course you're going to get it. But if you're looking for just a wave of ninja to represent in your collection, this is definitely one you could go for. In my opinion, there's just not a bad ninja, and as far as I'm aware, there's not one that's overly priced. I think potentially the Zane is, but I would have to fact check that for you. Hey guys, Editing Weavy here. How are you? I actually recorded this video about 3-4 days ago, and I've just been editing it, And turns out I was actually quite wrong about the pricing. I believe I said Zane was the expensive one, and I was actually quite wrong. He actually has an average value of about £7. So this is a Weavy Wednesday for you now. But turns out it's actually Nia. She's actually the expensive one, interestingly. Actually, not really interestingly, it's the exclusive head print. Turns out you can get one that has the city head that came out in the Samurai VXL set, and that has a value of about £15. Whereas, if you want with the exclusive head prints like I've shown, which came in the Dragon Forge, you actually have to pay about £22, £23, which does change my opinion on the recommendation. If you can justify the Nia, still an amazing minifigure, one I do still recommend. But if you can't really justify a price like that, I would suggest maybe going for the Day of the Departed suits. I mean, check out that review if you haven't. But yeah, turns out Nia's a lot more expensive than I realized. Also, weird fact for you. Did you know that the shoulder pad version of Lloyd that came in the Iron Doom set is cheaper than the non-shoulder pad version of Lloyd that came in the Destiny Shadow set? Don't know why. The only difference between them is the fact that one of them has shoulder pads, but for some reason that's the cheaper one. But yeah, this is a weird line. I recommend looking at the prices. This is actually quite fascinating. The difference in the Nia price is definitely a factor, and I would definitely consider that if you are looking to buy these suits. But if you can justify the price, definitely do so. But yeah, that was Editing Weavy. Back to the video. But I do think if you do like these suits, you wouldn't be disappointed by them at all. And it's one of those ones where they definitely stand out in any collection, because they certainly do mine. But that is about it for this episode, guys, and thank you for watching. Let me know if you own the Ninja, let me know if you are looking for them, let me know if you have no interest in them whatsoever. I would love to hear your opinion regardless. But that is about it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, take care, okay, bye!